Nate goes all in on vampire birthdays, and Molly thinks outside the box to her own detriment in this episode of Balderdash Academy.
Hello and welcome to Balderdash Academy. I'm your headmaster, Bob LeBlanc. Joining me, as always, is our faculty, the head of Home Ec and Wellness, Professor Marie Stewart-Harmon.
Hello, everybody.
Head of Guidance, Mr. Nate Green.
Thank you. Calm down.
Coach of the Balderdash Academy Dashers, Coach Steve Corning.
Let's go Dashers!
Head of English Language Arts, Professor Molly McGill.
Greetings, everyone.
Our visiting professor today is Tuck Tucker, stand-up comic and improviser with Running with Scissors and the Chamber of Comedy. Tuck has agreed to be our scorekeeper tonight while our faculty members compete for the coveted reigning champion banner. They will perform a series of challenges. At the end of each challenge, Tuck will assign points to a competitor he feels is most worthy. He's not looking for the correct answer, but he's looking for the best answer. The points are arbitrary and can be given to anyone for any reason. At the end of the show, the faculty member with the highest point total will be named the reigning champion. Our current champion is Professor Molly McGill.
Thank you.
That sound means it's now time for a pop quiz. Our first quiz is from Professor Molly McGill, English Language Arts. Molly?
Hello, faculty. So good to see you all. And visiting professor, welcome. As you know, we always kick off our meetings with a word of the day. I'm going to give you a word. I want you to tell me the meaning of it, and we'll see how much you've all been studying in between faculty meetings. Today's word of the day is Febricula. Febricula. Today's word of the day is Febricula.
Febricula.
I could let you know what that is right off the bat. It's super easy. It happens to be when you're a vampire, everybody's birthday automatically defaults to February, and specifically the leap year day. It's one way that they keep themselves young, and also still fill their lives with a little bit of sadness.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Yes, Marie.
Febricula is actually it's a type of arthritis that you get in your knuckles from folding too much laundry. The constant movement of the fabric within your fingers and the repetitive motion gives you Febricula.
Oh, sounds painful. Absolutely.
Yes, it's not good.
Having researched a little bit of sports science, obviously, as the coach of the Dashers, I'm very familiar with the Febricula, which is, of course, the most commonly injured bone in the shin. Febricula.
Thank you.
Now, I understand why people might be confused with this word. It sounds exotic. It sounds medical. What it actually is, as everybody knows, it's a portmanteau between February and ridiculous. The Febricula is a holiday much like April Fool's, in which people act ridiculous in a deep winter month. It was eventually abandoned due to the risk of frostbite while being an idiot outside.
My goodness. Well, visiting professor, it sounds like we have a few very close or very off guesses here. We have Nate's vampire birthday. We have Marie's arthritis from folding laundry. We have Coach's shin bone. And we have the portmanteau of the holiday. Which do you think is the best answer between these?
Honestly, I don't really care the correct answer. The best answer, the one that resonated with me the most, Mr. Nate Green.
Mr. Nate Green.
What would you like to score for Nate?
We're going to give Nate 5 points.
5 points for Nate.
Very generous. I appreciate that.
That's fabulous. Well, I can say that you all have not been studying your vocabulary words. This word, Febricula, is actually something that if you had right now, you'd like to keep it to yourself and maybe go see a doctor. It is a slight fever. Slight fever. Febricula. I have a slight Febricula.
How
feeling
topical.
Febriculous.
So file that away.
So, our first game is called 4 Questions. Tuck is an improviser with Running with Scissors, and so, in honor of our visiting professor, I have 4 questions about the game Rock, Paper, Scissors.
Ooh.
Whichever one of our faculty members gives the best, not necessarily the correct, but the best answer, Tuck will award points. Our first question. According to Wikipedia, a game like Rock, Paper, Scissors was invented 2,000 years ago. In what country? So according to Wikipedia, a game like Rock, Paper, Scissors was invented 2,000 years ago. In what country? Molly, you have an answer?
I sure do, because I know this. It was actually invented in Australia, the birthplace of rock and roll, right? So rock and roll, people are really proud about it, and they're like, "Oi, what are we gonna do here? I gotta do. Which band's going on first? How do we decide this? Oi!" There's a lot of oing, right? And so they're like, "We need to figure out which band is on first." They came up there, everyone was slamming their hands, and then they're like, "Wait a minute, we could figure this out." And there you go. Rock, Paper, Scissors was born, and it was then carried throughout the world by these touring bands, and children now love it.
Who doesn't? Right. Nate, do you have an answer?
Yes. So that would be India, what was once a famous place for shipping. A bunch of ships from around the world came by, one carrying rocks, one carrying paper, another carrying scissors, and they got clogged at the entryway. They couldn't figure out how to get through. So they fought it out, and paper beat rock, rock beat scissors, everybody went down. But what did come out of it, other than all those deaths, was a game that just spread throughout the trading ports, and within about 2 fortnights, it was everywhere in the world.
People died for your mild schoolyard enjoyment.
Good stuff.
All right. Steve, do you have an answer?
Yeah, it came from what is now Mexico, invented by the Aztecs. They were sick of long, drawn-out conversations, debates about who to sacrifice to the gods next, and they just figured out a quick way for 2 people to compete. The loser is burned to death. Rock, paper, scissors.
I'm glad that they got rid of that optional ending. I mean, that would have made things a little bit more complicated.
Yeah. It has
Marie,
changed over the
what's
years
your
a little
answer?
Rock, paper, scissors actually originated in Scandinavia with the Vikings. As when they were boarding their ships and going into newfound locations, they would bring certain tools with them, and they would bargain with the natives about which tool, rock, paper, or at the time it was 2 swords used together to do slicing. It is now known as the common day scissor, but in the time it was 2 swords. And so they would use them as bartering tools, and each one of them had different weight depending on the community that the Vikings were pillaging.
That makes perfect sense. The answer was China. First known mention of the game was in the book Wuzazu by the Chinese during the Ming Dynasty, referring to the Han Dynasty. But those were all excellent questions. Tuck, how would you like to score our faculty?
Well, here's how I'd like to score it. I'd like to give Molly 3 points, simply because she did an Australian accent, and I was waiting for that when she said Australia. So, but I really, really enjoyed Nate's answer. I'd like to give Nate 4 points, and then I'd like to give Marie and Steve both a point, because it was just entertaining and I enjoyed their answers.
Oh, you're sweet.
I know, Bob, I do
That's
know the
cool.
first time that it was featured in a publication.
What's
the
that?
game?
Do tell.
It was published in...
I want to give him 2 points.
It was published in the Kama Sutra, and it was rock, paper, scissoring. No points. Okay, do I lose my previous point as well?
No, I'm not going to deduct.
I'm used to it. No, I'm used to
I
it.
thought about it, but no.
I can see the look on your eyes.
So the next question. In France, a version of the game is called Chifumi. This is based on the old Japanese words for what? In France, a version of the game is called Shifumi. This is based on the old Japanese words for what? Molly?
Please pass the cheese. Because in France, it is very, very common for people to enjoy fromage a lot. And so they took that tradition from Japan, actually, because Japan is really well known for cheese. And they brought that to their own culture. Isn't it lovely?
It's beautiful. It's a sharing of cultures. So, Marie, do you have an answer?
Can you give me the exact phrase again?
Shifumi.
Yes, of course.
And I am mispronouncing that for the people at home.
Of course. It is in France. There is a lot of artistry, and there is a lot of street artists, and it is how you exchange forms of payment with the artist. You offer, and then you perhaps, bargain with your tools, and it's how you offer your transfer of currency for your artistry work.
Transferring a currency makes perfect sense. Nate, what's your answer?
The French took the Japanese phrases, forgetting that it was actually China where it came from. But they used that, and it stands for money over souls, which they chose those words because they thought it was an American-inspired game. So they were off on all kinds of different levels. But of course, America is all about money over souls. So I'm going to lose this one.
Money over souls. Coach, what's your answer for this?
This translates directly to similar beret. So obviously, in our culture, if two women arrive at a party wearing the same outfit, they might be mildly miffed. But in France, this is a serious issue, and you can say "shi fu mi," which means similar beret, and that means they have to commit to a duel of fingers to decide who gets to keep wearing the similar beret.
That makes sense. We've all seen French films about fingers. The correct answer is 1, 2, 3. Refers to the old Japanese words for 1, 2, 3. All great answers from the faculty, though. Tuck, how would you like to score them?
I don't want to.
Then moving on. The common side-blotched lizard exhibits a rock, paper, scissors mechanism in its what? The common side-blotched lizard exhibits a rock, paper, scissors mechanism in its what? Marie.
Oh, it's most definitely its tongue. It's how it communicates with its enemies. It has 3 distinct movements with its tongue, and as humans, we got to give names to everything, even tongue movements. And the 3 different tongue movements, rock, paper, and scissors, that the side-blotched lizard does are 3 different forms of communication: one for enemies, one for family members, and then one for mountable partners. That's the scissor.
That makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. Molly.
It is actually their loins, their reproductive organs. Rock, paper, scissors. It's a form of birth control that this wonderful species has. If they do not want to fornicate and produce offspring, then it's the scissor, right? It's a no-go, cut it off, not going to happen. If they are like, well, all right, but I'm not going to participate, it's paper. And then if it's rock, they're going to go for it and release it.
That makes sense. Coach, you have an answer.
This is, of course, the eyelids of the, what was it?
Common side-blotched lizard.
The common, I know, obviously I know a lot about this. The common side-blotched lizard's eyelids, depending on its level of fear, hunger and horniness, you can see it in its eyelids.
So it's all about that eyeshadow. All right, Nate, do you have an answer?
Yeah. First I want to commend my colleagues at completely BSing this, because it's quite clear that's what they did. Because, I mean, everybody knows it's much simpler than what you're making it. It's the Wonder Twins rings that all the lizards have, and they can transform into whatever they want. Usually those three things are like the top three. But yeah, it's just the ring.
The Wonder Twin powers form of a bucket of water. Very close. There's actually 2 faculty members who got it disturbingly close. The common side blotch lizard exhibits a rock, paper, scissors mechanism in its mating strategy. Orange scales beat blue scales. Blue beats yellow. Yellow beats orange. Everybody gets beaten. Everybody loves it. So, Tuck, would you like to score the faculty for this one?
I would, yeah. I'd like to give Molly 3, because that was a great answer. I'd like to give Marie 2, because I really enjoyed her answer as well. I'd like to give Steve 1, brilliant with the eyelids. Nate, half a point.
Oh, yay!
Half a point.
For elections.
All right. Next question, final question in our 4 questions. According to a 2017 article from the BBC, researchers have taught the rules of rock, paper, scissors to what? Marie.
Monkeys. It's a new. They're training monkeys to be babysitters for the staff members in the lab. Their children. They bring their children to work. They're teaching the monkeys how to play rock, paper, scissors so that the monkeys can then babysit their children. You guys didn't know that?
That makes a lot of sense. Babysit my kids, you damn dirty ape, Nate.
It would be octopi. Because they're very intelligent, they can get out of anything, and the one thing that they can't do is agree on who's going to escape first. So they have to rock, paper, scissors for it. And they have it's really hard because they have 8 hands that can do it all at the same time. It's weird.
That makes sense. Great answer. Molly.
Inmates. Taught it to inmates. You got to pass the time somehow. It's not violent. Can get violent, they found out. That's the 2018 article. But we won't get into that. So yeah, taught it to inmates.
Well, that's what you get for giving inmates scissors. Steve.
It was taught to NBA mascots. Not everyone knows this, but so much time goes into learning the somersaults and jumping off of trampolines and doing dunks. And they have to start them at such a young age that they miss grade school to train to become NBA mascots. So this is kind of a way of readjusting them to normal society when they've been stuck in NBA arenas for decades.
So NBA mascots, the correct answer almost goes to Marie. It was chimpanzees. Japanese researchers taught chimps the rules of rock, paper, scissors. Tuck, how would you like to score our faculty?
Well, okay. You know, the funny thing is there's several ways I could score this, because monkeys obviously jumps out first thing. But in my mind, I was thinking octopi. So with Nate, I really love the NBA mascot thing, though. I mean, that's just brilliant. And then Molly didn't even give an animal. She gave inmate. So I don't know if she was thinking outside the box or she didn't even listen. Which
It's hard
I'm
telling.
okay with. I admire that because I don't listen half the time either. So what we're going to do, Marie was so close, 2 points for Marie.
2 points for Marie.
Steve, I'm giving 3. Nate, I'm going to give 1 because we were thinking the same. And Molly, half a point.
Fine.
Half a point. So after 4 questions, our points are we have Molly with 6.5 points.
Ooh.
Followed by Steve with 7 points. Marie with 9. And Nate with 10.5 points.
Wow.
Thank you for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon. You can find us on your favorite podcast service as Balderdash Academy. Go Dashers!